keep swearing at us. You're making your women cry here. You're gonna go home, Nina. Like it or not, you will go home to your countries. Swear at me again. Call me Mkaba. Call me anything. I work. I do my work properly.
Well, we are waiting for the taxis. Since when did you come here? Ufike Lola?
Manje.
Nizongena ngenkani la. Hayi, ungafundisile bafethu. Asingaze silwe sibambane ngezandla bafethu.
Angenanga.
Hambani manje. Your time is over. Your time is up.
La sifuna udokotela.
Sesebenza. Adlala sesebenza. Uzophathwa yini la izweni lethu? Biza amaphoyisa. Kwamaphoyisa awathola lutho la kithi. They are not allowed to use our clinic. That is why I'm here. And they called me to assist them.
Where's these papers now? Is ID?
Where are they? Where?
Your papers, my card is inside.
Your papers.
This card inside.
I put my card inside.
Nayi-backup yakhe amaphoyisa sabizile ukuze ezosibopha ngoba yena ufuna ukuzongena la okwesithathu 3 times eza la eclinic ezothi uyagula ethi uyagula.
Doctor's card?
Yes.
Where's the doctor's card?
Inside.
Yes, please.
Why you didn't go to the doctor private?
Exactly.
You need to go to the private clinic. You can't use our clinics because now it's at that time coming here. I know that you are collecting medication to your country.
Illegal immigration does place a great deal of strain on our social services, and it also undermines our national security. We should not, however, allow vigilante acts targeting national or foreign nationals, as these do not solve the problem and they just undermine the rule of law. Instead, we need to address this challenge by strengthening the enforcement of our laws and the resourcing of the border management capabilities.
Over the years, illegal immigrants have been blamed.
What you're seeing right now is 582 passports from Zimbabwe, Malawians, Mozambicans. Now, this particular Zimbabwean, it was found with a Zimbabwean who is a 42-year-old Zimbabwean, and they apprehended him in Middelburg, which is in Mpumalanga province, after he was found with all this passport. This passport aren't just his, they found money inside this passport. He was supposed to take it to an immigration officer who was supposed to give these guys, like, legalize the owners of this passport. And the total amount of money that was calculated from all this passport is roughly 147,300 rands. That's a lot of money. These immigration guys that are doing backdoor jobs, they're making so much money. So if they didn't catch this particular guy, they didn't arrest this guy, these foreigners will be legalized. So what is wrong in going to do the right thing, like going to Home Affairs and legalizing yourself? I know the process is kind of like scary and difficult, but let's do better. Let's do better. Guys, this is crazy. This is like one of the biggest I've seen so far when it comes to criminal activities for documentations.
Bafowethu, so mo bordering yamzansi ke tlhakatlhakano ke maphambuka. So Michael Siapato, elore ke commissioner ya the BMA, which is the Border Management Authority. Or file report, that's or file information, or file mangena, or wirala mo border nya rena ra retile batho ba bakae. So ba bala di numbers tsela di fika tsela ba jamba hore 8,000 ya illegal foreigners they were arrested. Ngwaho fela batho ba lona ba cross border ba tsene ka di back door ba tsene ka mekabelo. So ka mkhobe tlhalosang ba most of the people ba tsene mo country ya rena illegally ke Basotho. Ba no feta tongana no feta mingi ya mo bordereng o feta wira ben down ba re go bone e fetang mo bordereng e feta dikobo tsa go shi street ya tsa go factory no feta tongana tsela tsa go tronkong batho ba tsena South Africa ya Basotho ba fikile tsa so ba tsene illegally ba ile go zama kwale ya ba ile di mining ba ile ba gold mo Mzansi ba re ke tlhakatlhakano ke mawasa ba re ba followa ke maZimbabwean after that so le ba go Mozambique le bona ba teng mo palong eo ba retile batho da so di trongo di tletse ka bona illegal foreigners ba tseneng ka di back door mo country ya rena ba nana re ba tlozola ba bang ba dilise ke crime ba tsira commit crime mo country ya rena ke tlhakatlhakano ke di jive ba futhu ba re listela nele baya ya batho ba tsene da so ba bang ibilane aba show hore ba khonno feta bya mo bordering co security se tight so ke tlhakatlhakano ke mawaza ba futhu re tsenetse mo country ya rena o re sa itse hore ba rena ke ba ba feng illegally ke ba ba feng ke mathata ba futhu ke mawaza.
Listening to this, more than 8,000 undocumented foreign nationals were arrested trying to enter South Africa borders illegally. Listen to this before I say what I have in mind.
With the help of surveillance technology, mainly the drones, in this particular second quarter, we were able to apprehend about 8,135 individuals who were attempting to enter the country illegally through the ports of entry as well as the respective segments of the borderline. Of that particular number, 4,092 of them were found to be undocumented, 2,061 were fairly just inadmissible, and 1,982 were undesirables. As always the case, in terms of historical empirical data, the majority of the intercepted individuals in that second quarter were led by Basotho nationals, followed by Mozambicans, Zimbabweans, as well as Swati nationals. And of course, this is a reflection of the consistent, long-standing migration patterns within the sub-region. And of course, trend-wise, there hasn't been anything unusual.
Mass invasion does not happen by plane. If a country fails to invest heavily in border security, its neighbors will cross in. Large numbers. Especially when it comes to a country like South Africa, where the economy is performing better compared to its neighbors. I mean, it's obvious. The quality of life in South Africa cannot be compared to the quality of life in Zimbabwe or Mozambique. The standard of living, the healthcare system, the educational system, the infrastructure. You can't compare that of South Africa to Mozambique or Zimbabwe. Now, let's assume the system in Zimbabwe is working in favor of the people of Zimbabwe. Let's assume the system in Mozambique is working in favor of the people of Mozambique. Let's assume the system in Nigeria is working in favor of the people in Nigeria. You won't find large numbers of Nigerians or people from Zimbabwe or Mozambique trying to enter South Africa. So we must hold our leaders accountable for our system to work instead of escaping on a daily basis to South Africa. Please, you don't find large numbers of Botswana people, Namibia people trying to enter South Africa illegally. Because regardless, the system is working in Namibia and Botswana. It's very close to the South African system. It is time to hold our leaders accountable by all means necessary so that our system will work. Stop escaping to South Africa and get mad when South Africans react. This is to my Nigerians, the people of Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Mass invasion is not something that happened by accident. If 20 people from Zimbabwe and 20 people from Nigeria enters South Africa tomorrow, in the next 10 years, you'll find more than 5,000 people from these two countries in South Africa. Within the space of 50 years, you'll find somebody from Zimbabwe in South Africa Parliament. And the person will start advocating for right of people from Zimbabwe in South Africa. That is how mass invasion happened. Please, let's think. Stop blaming South Africans. Blame your leaders for not being able to provide you with basic things that you are looking for in South Africa. Thank you for watching us, Stable.
The second misconception is foreigners are taking all the jobs. The truth is the foreigners here in South Africa, they work the kind of job that I can say that for a South African don't, the kind of job that South African reject, like working in the farm, cleaning, and this thing like what, saloons, like car guard, all those small jobs that South African reject. Those are the kind of the job that foreigners are taking. And then remember, and then other thing, foreigners, they're hardworking people. So when they're in South Africa, they try to create their own jobs. So if people, they can say that foreigners are taking all jobs, for me, according to my understanding, I don't agree with that, because most of the foreigners, they open the spaza shops, they open the saloons, they try to create jobs for themselves. And even though they're creating jobs for themselves, they end up even employing even some of South Africans in the locations and with their small job that they're having. So when people, they say foreigners are taking all the jobs, is not true, because these people, they will take the jobs that is being rejected. And then I don't believe that where there is in the company, where there is a job, the priority will be foreigner. No, the priority is always the South African when it's coming for jobs. So that is the thing that I would like to clear out. And then most of the time, most of them, they don't replace the skilled South African when it's a work. That is why we do advise our kids, the foreigners in South Africa or the refugees, when they are going to university, they must do the courses which they are more technical, which is the scarce skills, so that it will be easier for them to get job in South Africa. So that is the reality. So you can comment if for sure you agree with me. Thank you very much.
Less than a month after the High Court ordered Operation Dudula to stop harassing and intimidating foreigners who want to access clinics and hospitals, another judgment was handed over last week by the same court. This time, authorities have been ordered to act more decisively in response to what is being termed medical xenophobia. I share this judgment because it's impossible to talk about feminism and gender discrimination without including the plight of immigrant women. The court began by highlighting that xenophobia is one of the greatest threats to democracy and human rights that we presently face, leaving aside the fact that it feeds on the most toxic of human instincts, the hatred of the other, and forgetting that it is animated by the fantasy that the presence of foreign nationals in South Africa eviscerates the lives of its citizens, and overlooking that in its practiced form, it is merely another kind of racism. The problem with xenophobia is its misdirection. If we can blame foreigners, we need not look to ourselves for the solutions to the poverty and inequality that scar our society. So long as foreigners are there to take unending responsibility, the structures of violence, fear, and deprivation, which bedevil the constitutional project, may be left unexamined. Now, this application was brought forward by multiple groups, including Treatment Action Campaign and Doctors Without Borders. The applicants argued that several state organs, including provincial health authorities, as well as the South African Police Services, failed to intervene when anti-migrant groups such as Operation Dudula were harassing vulnerable groups such as pregnant women, people living with HIV, and old people. The persistent targeting of pregnant and lactating women was one of the triggers for this application. Despite a court order barring the obstruction of healthcare, there were reports that the practice was still ongoing in some areas. The applicants also highlighted cases where anti-migrant groups moved from blocking access to the entrances of care centers and instead moved to waiting rooms where they would question patients about their eligibility for healthcare services. It has also been reported that some groups even went as far as entering consultation rooms and disrupting patient-provider interactions. The SAPS tried to argue that its role is limited to responding to complaints, and this is an argument that Judge Wilson outrightly rejected. He highlighted that the police's constitutional mandate is to protect all inhabitants, maintain public order, and prevent crime. The court ordered, amongst other things, that the government has to remove vigilantes and any other persons obstructing entry into healthcare institutions. The government also has to deploy trained security personnel at all access points